Patrick, when the First World War began in July 1914, it fractured the world's old European colonial empire order. The Second World War, that began about 20 years after the end of the First World War, proved to be the catalyst, ultimately bringing the European empires to an end. For example, before the war, Germany's empire included the Marshall, Carolina, and Mariana Island groups in the Western Pacific. The 1919 Treaty of Versailles that ended World War I mandated these island groups to Japan, but the Japanese did not comply with the mandate terms. They instead used these island groups as a defensive perimeter against European and American efforts to stop Japan in its conquest of East Asian nations by creation of its own post-World War I empire known as the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. During the Second World War, these Mandate Island groups were major bastions of Japanese homeland defense and became famous Marine Corps battlegrounds with such names as Iwo Jima, Kwajalein, and Saipan. However, World War I also led to the first Marine Corps Aviation overseas combat deployment, a deployment filled with irony. When the United States entered World War I on April 6, 1917, the Marine Corps' first aviator, Captain Alfred Cunningham, recognized as the father of Marine Corps Aviation, was a de facto director of Marine Aviation. Convinced that if Marine Corps Aviation was not a participant, it would become irrelevant, he was determined to get Marine Aviation into the fight. In the last 2 months of 1917, Cunningham went to France, where he visited British and French air bases, flight schools, and flew with the Allies on missions over the German lines. In discussions with the British and United States Navy officers, he found a role for Marine Aviation that was supported by the U.S. Navy and Allied authorities. On July 18, 1918, Cunningham's 1st Marine Aviation Force sailed for France on the USS De Kalb. The De Kalb was built in Germany as the SS Prince Eitel Friedrich and became a war prize when she had the misfortune of being in Philadelphia when the U.S. declared war on Germany in April 6, 1917, and was recommissioned as a USS De Kalb, the first United States Marine Aviation unit to be deployed overseas. Was the 1st Marine Aviation Force, and it was transferred over there to France on an enemy ship. The 1st Marine Aviation Force disembarked at the French port of Brest on June 30, 1918, but half of its 72 de Havilland DH-4 aircraft, designed in Britain and built in the United States under license, were mistakenly sent to England, and the other half would not be assembled until September. Ironically, Americans flying combat in World War I flew English or French designed and built airplanes, except for a few license-built DH-4 airplanes powered by an American-designed Liberty engine. The first one built in the United States did not reach the Marines until September 7, 1918, only 2 months prior to the November 11th armistice. Major Cunningham turned to England's Royal Air Force for help. Formed on April 1, 1918, it is the oldest independent air force in the world. After 4 years of combat losses, the RAF was short of pilots, but had an abundance of Liberty engines that were compatible with the de Havilland, but few airframes in which to mount them. Now a major, Cunningham and the Royal Air Force agreed that for every 3 engines delivered to them, they would deliver the Marines 1 completely outfitted aircraft to include its engine. By armistice on November 11, 1919, the Marines had 36 aircraft. After the Western Front truce with Germany quieted the World War guns on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, in December, the 1st Marine Aviation Force sailed for home on the USS Mercury. The Mercury was built in Germany as the SS Barbarossa in 1896 and was in Hoboken, New Jersey when the United States entered the war on April 6, 1917. Becoming a war prize, she was recommissioned as the USS Mercury. Ironically, just as in coming over there, the 1st Marine Aviation Force would be transported back from over there to the United States on German-built ships. Patrick, both coming and going from World War I in Europe, The 1st Marine Aviation Force sailed on war-prize German ships.